Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Martenson, and I'm so excited for this conversation today. You guys are not going to believe this story. I read this book called The Burn Zone. It's a memoir. It's coming out in October 2018, so we're in August here. So this was one of those books I could not put down, and the author's name is Renee Linnell, and right away I loved her because my middle name's Renee, so I loved it. So listen to this, guys. In the darkness of my solitude, it dawned on me. I was in a cult. I had been in a cult for close to 7 years, and I was severely brainwashed. But how had I let that happen? Me! I graduated magna cum laude with a degree, a double degree. I traveled to nearly 50 countries alone before I turned 35. I was a surf model. I was a professional Argentine Tango dancer. I'd started 5 different companies. I was getting an MBA from NYU. How could someone like me end up brainwashed in a cult? But that's what happened to Renee Linnell. Hey Renee, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Good. So, yeah, we've got to talk about how you ended up in a cult. And when you think a religious cult, you think you don't imagine like it's a spiritual cult or a Buddhist cult or the kind of people that you were involved with. You picture something else, something more, wacky or something, because right away it sounds really great when you're going to these meetings and you're meditating and you're having visions and opening up, and then it just goes crazy. So tell everybody a little bit, about your story, what you were doing before, and how you got into this, because it was a wild ride, you guys, like 10 years, right?
Yeah. About from start to finish.
Yeah.
And it's true. I always thought only crazy people join cults, and why would you join one, and why would you get sucked in, and how could you let people tell you what to do? And it happens so slowly. And a little bit of my backstory is that most of my family died before I was 15. And then my father died when I was 15 on Thanksgiving Day. And so I was always searching and seeking and thinking there has to be much more to the world than what I'm learning in high school and in church. And my searching led me all over the world, 50 countries by the time I was 30. It led me to different religions. It led me to the beds of many different men, just looking for peace and love and something more than you work, you get married, you have kids, you live, you die, it's over. Yeah. And then my mother died, and then my godmother died, and I had no family left besides my brother. And right then I walked into a meditation seminar, and it was Tantric Buddhist Mysticism. And I arrived late. There was one chair, and this is how I opened the book. There was one chair in the front, and I sat in it. And I was expecting an older woman with long gray hair and a robe and mala beads and sandals, and instead out walked a young, beautiful woman in a business suit. And she said, "Let's meditate," after she introduced herself. And she put on music, and I was expecting spa music, and she put on a really loud techno song from one of the Matrix fight scenes. And I closed my eyes, and I felt white, and I felt energy shoot up my spine and out the top of my head, and suddenly my world went white, and I was being held in the hands of God. I felt so much peace and so much love, and I said, this is what I've been searching for. I don't care who this woman is. I don't care what she says. This is what I've been searching for. I'm home.
Right. Yeah, when I read about that light, and that you had that like Kundalini opening in your spine and all that, I was like, whoa, where I want to go there.
And everyone does. That's the interesting thing, is we all secretly want that peace. And so there it was.
Yes.
In a first second, sitting in front of this woman. And then she went on to say, shall I keep going? Or shall I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So then she went on to say, she wasn't saying join an ashram or give up all the fun things in life or become a Reiki practitioner. She was saying she said, in the East, people have really strong spiritual practices, but they're poor. And in the West, people make a lot of money, but they're soul sick. And what she was going to teach us to do was sharpen our minds in meditation and then use our career as our offering to the divine, as our spiritual practice, and spend every moment at work focused on the moment and doing our best. And then we make more money, and then we can create a life where we can meditate better, and eventually we give back to the world through philanthropy.
Right. Then it was interesting. She had that guy Vishnu, who was her like right-hand man, like Secret Service guy, and he was all slick. And then when she'd tell you guys to wear the most expensive clothes, fly first class, and don't sleep in beds that other people had slept in, so, because of their energy. I mean, all these things that they had started having you do.
And at the same time, most of us were people that had never spent money on ourselves, had never believed we could make money, had never flown first class or stayed in nice hotels or worn designer clothes.
Yeah.
And so as we started making the money to do these things and then started experiencing what that felt like, of course, it was a wonderful change.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of almost like a business coach or something. She was really getting people to, and then telling you people what businesses to start, and then you'd go do it. First in there, you're like, wow, well, this is great. It's really like people who you need some fire under your butt, and you're just kicking butt and doing all these things. But then you had to, so tell us about how then slowly you are cut off from, you shouldn't be doing your surfing and your dancing, and what happened then with her right-hand man.
It's interesting because I have realized as I've written this story that what I went through parallels most abusive relationships, whereas if you go on a first date with a man and he hits you in the face, you're not going to go on a second date.
Right.
But what abusers do is they draw you in and they make you feel seen and make you feel loved and make you feel empowered, and they see a part of you that no one else sees. And so she did that for about the first year. The coaching, you're amazing and you can do anything you put your mind to, and I'm going to help you and you can make money. And she gave us tasks like getting a black belt in karate, and I went from being a dancer to becoming a computer programmer.
Yeah, she told you to go do computer programming. You didn't even have an interest in it, but then you're like, I have to finish this because she told me to, and I'm going to do it. And you did it. Yeah.
And then suddenly as a dancer, I'm making money as a computer programmer, which is a skill set that I never knew I could have. Mm-hmm. And so then after about a year, she starts showing us our ego, because we want to apparently sand down our ego in order to change and become more spiritual. And so they start introducing your flaws and showing you all the ways you're flawed. So the self-doubt starts to come in. And then meanwhile, you're so busy with all the tasks, learning computer programming, getting a black belt. I started working for them, running their company. There's no time for the people that used to support me, my friends, or surfing or dancing. And then they start saying, well, you're changing so much that can hold you back, being with people that knew the old you.
Right. And they weren't paying you to be working for them either, were they?
No, that's selfless service to the guru.
Right.
And I've been reading all these books about saints that did selfless service to the guru, especially in Buddhism.
Yeah.
So then when I was running the company, I became very close to the man that was her right-hand man, who was 12 years older than me. I was 34 at the time. And he started coming on to me. And by then, I had no friends outside the group. My life was totally consumed with everything I was doing for the group. And I was the perfect target.
And as far as you knew, he was involved with the Lakshmi, the woman. You thought that was her boyfriend the whole time.
Assuming. Yeah. They were very vague about it. I kept assuming that they were. And so then when he started coming on to me, I thought, oh, well, of course they must not be. Yeah. And she must be so busy meditating that she must be so relieved to know she can trust me with her man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here you are working full time for them, putting on these events and all this stuff, and then you're getting your black belt in karate. You're learning the programming. How were you making money? Was it through? Then you got a job with computer programming.
Well, fortunately, when my father passed away when I was 15, he left me some money.
Okay.
And so I was using that, and then I was still teaching a little bit of dance on the side and making a little bit of money computer programming.
Because I was thinking, how she must be blowing through all her money, flying first class, designer clothing, and then working for free, and you're running yourself ragged. I was exhausted. I loved the book. I couldn't put it down, but I was getting exhausted for you. I was like, how is this woman doing all this stuff? And then you'd get up and 5 a.m. and surf by yourself, and all these things. It was absolutely, unreal. Your energy.
I believed I was on my way to enlightenment, and I believed she told us when she gave us tasks that energetic beings that were not in the body would be assisting us.
Okay.
And so I just felt for the first time in my life I had a purpose. I'm definitely heading towards enlightenment.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know what enlightenment was.
Right.
But in my mind, it was this ability to spread light and love to everybody.
And was this was a form of Buddhism, or was this Buddhism? What was it? Or was it her special twist on things, or,
Well, it was Tantric Buddhist mysticism.
Okay.
And according to her, or what Tantra is, everyone confuses it with sex, but it really is that Tantric Buddhism is you don't hide from anything in the world. You use everything in the world as your spiritual practice. So instead of locking yourself in an ashram on top of a mountain or someplace pristine and quiet, you use everything that comes at you as an opportunity to shine love and light and bring the best of yourself. And she would say, anyone can act saintly in an ashram in the quiet, but try to act saintly after a 12-hour workday when you're in the subway in Manhattan.
So basically the only spiritual practice was it the meditation? Because otherwise you're doing your karate and you're working and putting events and all of this. So was that, and then she had you eating a lot of sugar, I think,
yeah.
But which was bizarre. And Vishnu was always drinking champagne. And
in my mind, what made it spiritual is that the meditation, I suppose, and the quieting of the mind. So the second night I ever sat in front of her, she said, everybody thinks you meditate to relax and unwind. If you want to relax and unwind, go drink a beer and get a blowjob. What I'm going to teach you to do is sharpen your mind, and it is the hardest thing there is to do. But imagine being able to walk through this world unaffected by everything that's going on around you.
Right.
And being able to stay so still and so calm that your mind is always open to guidance from your source.
Well, there was a lot of great things in there. And where was she from originally?
This I blurred the details.
Oh, okay. But was she from another country originally?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
She was in the States.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She was from the States. Yeah, it was. And so do you think that they purposely were making this into a cult and were wanting to abuse people or change their life, or do you think that just came out of it by, pure mistake, kind of, along the way?
To this day, I still don't know. And I'm sure people that read my book are probably furious at me for thinking that maybe they aren't malicious.
Uh-huh.
Part of me believes that she really does believe she's helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And then part of me thinks that maybe he started becoming power hungry and started trying to rise to the top. He seems much more power hungry to me than she ever was. Mm-hmm. I just don't know. But I do know they started to crave the money, the attention, the people really lying in worship at their feet.
Right, and the money they make was from the events, right? Or did they have people giving them? Oh no, you had to give them a monthly fee.
A monthly fee, and then we would do these power trips. And each person that went on the power trip, which was a trip out of the country, paid, in addition to the trip cost, $10,000.
Right. Wow. So
she had 100 people doing that, plus paying over $1,000 a month in tuition. She was making some good money.
Wow. And so, okay, so let's get into your relationship with Vishnu, the second-hand man. So you did eventually. He took a long time to make a real move there, but he'd take you to the beach and picnics and champagne, and then you did get involved with him. And he made you go clean his apartment and make him dinner and all that, right?
So I was a servant. I was the concubine. I was the student.
Right.
I was financial support. And meanwhile, I was reading this book about Sri Ramakrishna, who was one of the greatest saints in India, who was cleaning latrines with his hair.
Oh, I know. I read that. I said, oh, God, I can't believe that. Oh.
And these legends and these myths of these students that would do anything the teacher said in order to show devotion. And I was so sincere. Mm-hmm. I wanted to show devotion. And I thought I had this wonderful life. I'd been living my life my way for 33 years. And I was still so soul sick. So I was willing to try anything. And ever since my father died, I always really I longed for a man in my life to protect me and love me and hold me and make me feel special. And Vishnu was 12 years older, and he was very attractive in some ways. I mean, physically.
You would say, oh, he's not that good looking, he's kind of fat. And then, oh, no, he's cuter now. And it would go back and forth with the attraction there.
And my editor was great in that, because when I first started writing about him, I said I wasn't attracted to him. And then she said, I don't really believe you. And I said, you know what, you're right. There were times where I was because physically he was very attractive. Uh-huh. And then when I would get a flash of clarity, I guess I could see that he was more of a predator. Mm-hmm. And so, but by the time he really made his move, I had nothing left. I had no foundation left. And I felt that it was part of my task to love him and be his consort. They call it a consort when a spiritual teacher takes a student as a lover.
Wow. And it's interesting because most people who get into something like this, there's something from childhood, like you said, your father passed away, and then your mother was an alcoholic, so she had a lot of drama going on there, and that was painful for you. Because every time I'd be reading, and I couldn't believe, you just wanted to tell him, screw it, and then I thought, she's leaving now, she's going to tell him to F off and never come back, but you kept coming back. I mean, you didn't leave, and you're like, no, it's my fault, it's my ego, no, they're right, and I'm like, I can't believe this.
After coming out the other side of it, I finally Googled brainwashing and mind control techniques, and they did it all. And when a religious organization introduces something like the devil, or in this case it was the occult, dark forces.
Yeah, they said dark forces were getting you or something, or it was, right.
Yeah, they said you'll be so bright from meditating, and for me, spending time with them, that dark forces will mess with my mind. And I thought, if I can believe in light beings that aren't in the body helping me, then maybe I do have to believe in dark beings messing with me.
Right.
And that would show up, they said, as really negative mind states, confused mind states, and thoughts and feelings of wanting to leave this path. Mm-hmm. And she had said this path is the hardest path there is.
Right.
And only to help others will you survive it, because you'll have to change in all these ways. And she said, you'll want to quit. Only a warrior can walk this path.
Right.
And so every time I wanted to quit, they had interjected just enough self-doubt. Mm-hmm. And then having an alcoholic mother that loved me and then didn't love me and loved me and didn't, I think, set the platform for me wanting so badly to be approved of and so badly to be seen. And so every time I wanted to quit, I thought that my ego was telling me to leave, and I was getting messed with by the occult.
And then she tells you to go get an MBA.
This was her way of kicking me out, because I found out that she didn't know I was sleeping with Vishnu. So then I found out. So my joke is, if you want to get thrown out of a cult, screw the guru's boyfriend, and they throw it out. But so then you can imagine I'm completely dedicated to this woman, and I find out I'm sleeping with her man. Right. That was horrible for me.
Yeah.
So then I said I wouldn't sleep with him anymore unless she not only knew but approved. And then she tried to approve of it, but she just couldn't. And so she finally called me one day and said, I have a new task for you. You're supposed to get an MBA from one of the hardest business schools in the country and then start a business that makes $10 million profit after taxes.
Right. Make $10 million. Yeah.
And once I did, and I had 24 hours to say goodbye to everybody in the group.
Yeah.
And then I had to go do this. And she said, once I made the money, I could come back and share some of it.
Share some, right. So, all right. And so that was in New York.
So then I immediately got to work on trying to get accepted into a business school with a background in dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I take the reader through that in the book, but it did happen. I got into NYU Stern, which I loved. And I was still working on getting my black belt, so I joined a dojo in New York.
Uh-huh.
And then I started with the sensei. I fell in love with my sensei.
Right.
And I started building a business with him to go after this $10 million profit after taxes.
Mm-hmm. But of course, he was also like a narcissist.
Yes. And he was a mess, let's just say. And my intuition at this point was I didn't trust it. So even though all the signs were there that this was not a good situation for me, I believed there was so much light in the situation that the occult forces were telling me to quit.
Right. I already saw the signs when he said, when you first met him, I want to invite you as my guest to his studio to a class. And then when you get there, they say, that'll be $20. And then he told him, he was there, $20. And you're like, wait, he invited me. And you're like, what? And then you pay it. And, it's like, oh boy,
And again, there's so many parallels here about women and what we do when we want to be loved. Yes. And the signs, I have to say the signs are there.
Yes.
Every time I've been in any relationship, whether it's with a friend or a lover, the signs are there and I made excuses.
Yeah. I was, as a matchmaker yesterday, I was talking to a woman who is with a guy who on and off for a few years and telling me all these things like, well, he breaks up with me when he wants to sleep with somebody else and then he comes back and he kicked me out, but he's paying for part of my apartment. And then, well, I don't know, you're a professional. What do you think? What should I do? And I'm like, what to do. You already know that this is, if you have to ask me and you're telling me this, so we just second guess ourselves so much and want to be loved and think, okay, well, and I'm like, this guy's giving you crumbs. He's treating you like crap. But he's good looking, she said. I said, go get a magazine with a good looking guy in it and look at the picture. I mean, who cares? He's treating you like dirt.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I realized through my healing that it really all comes down to self-love.
Yes.
When we really love ourselves, we won't let people treat us badly.
And I asked her, I said, were you criticized as a child? What happened? And she said, all the time. My mother constantly criticized me. So there we go back to childhood. So that's what we've got to heal these things from childhood so we don't get into this or to get out of it. And so you ended up getting your MBA, all right, and what happened? And so let's go from there.
Okay, so I got my MBA. Well, I got a year and a half into it, and I started building this business with this man. Uh-huh. And another takeaway is you don't go into business with some dude from the karate dojo without an operating agreement.
Right.
I went into business with him, and it was a disaster. And again, because this story is so much about my wholeness and not about revenge, I'll kind of skim the details and just say it was a disaster. We ended up in the New York tabloids. I lost a lot of money in order to just extricate myself from the situation. And I moved to Colorado just to reset, and I completely fell apart. I mean, that's when I realized I had to go all the way back to childhood and figure out where the damage was that allowed all of this to happen. But eventually I did get my strength back, and I did start commuting to New York, and I did finish my degree. So yeah.
And so, where are you now? What are you doing? I mean, in your life, I know you wrote the book about it.
Now I'm happily living in Colorado. I'm loving it. This book is hitting the world October 9th. I just got booked on the Today Show for September 5th. 9 a.m. with Megyn Kelly.
Oh my God, I love Megyn Kelly. Oh, that is awesome.
Right? It's all, and the HBO show Vice.com published an excerpt from the book online. So it's gaining traction and momentum, and I'm going to dedicate myself right now to this book and spreading the message that we are so amazing the way we are. And anytime we have let anyone else tell us who we are, we're in trouble, and that our difference is our destiny. And I would love my main message to be that we own our stories, and we stop apologizing for ourselves, and we stop comparing ourselves to others, and we stop thinking we need to look or act a different way than we are right now.
Yeah.
Especially as women, I think we're bombarded by messaging that tells us we're not young enough, not pretty enough, not thin enough, not rich enough, not something enough.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think, imagine if we could all wake up and realize we're perfect the way we are. Absolutely. And just weird, and just be wrong, and just be different, you know?
Right.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would be fantastic. Because people are trying to follow the next trend, and somebody was I was on a morning show here in LA the other day, and there was a fashion designer on there, and then they were saying, oh, if I see one more person in bicycle shorts, I guess bicycle shorts are the newest trend. Everybody's wearing bicycle shorts. And I said, I work from home, and I work in my yoga pants, but, and I said, I haven't seen this trend. Oh, everybody's doing it. So yeah, it's like everybody follows these trends or these things that they think they have to do, and it's like, just be yourself. Find something quirky about you and love it, you know.
Yes, wear what we want to wear, and don't wear makeup if we don't feel like wearing makeup. And, you know, I dream of that for myself. I'm still working on it. And I dream of that for all women everywhere.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. I just had a flash of something in the book that they made you do that I was just like, oh my God. They would say things from your past had an energetic, like you weren't have pictures of your family around or friends because their energy could come through in your house. They had you burn all your possessions.
Everything.
Your childhood photos, your mementos, everything. You had a big bonfire and burned everything.
All of it. Repeatedly. Yes. Anytime I found, yes, I did. I burned everything. And on one hand, it was very liberating. It definitely teaches detachment. It definitely made moving to New York easier.
Right.
And on the other hand, I was furious about it afterwards for a while. But it is what it is.
Right. And now, do you tend to be more of a minimalist now still?
Yeah, I'm a super minimalist. Right. Yeah. So it's, you know, so much of what they taught actually was liberating.
It is, and a lot of the things in it were that the reader can even take away and apply.
I think there were some really good Buddhist teachings in there.
Yeah.
I just think anytime any human believes that they're God or they can help people find God, I think that's the problem.
Have you been able to get out there and date or find a new love interest because these guys really put you through, you know,
with her. Yes, I have to say that's the final piece I feel like in my healing. I had not dated for 5 years since I left New York. Because I really wanted to focus my energy on me, and I knew that if I started dating when I was so broken, I would leap into the other person's arms wanting to be saved. And I realized, okay, I have to figure out how to save myself and stand on my own 2 feet and be my own woman and be whole, and then attract somebody into my life who is also whole. And I also realized that dating men that don't know who they are, they don't know what they want, and so then they are wishy-washy. And after everything I went through, I said, I only want to be with a man that cherishes me, who's been looking, who knows who he is, who knows what he wants, and he wants me.
Right.
And so I did meet somebody, and it was a disaster. Well, it wasn't a disaster. It was wonderful for a weekend.
Okay.
And then it progressed through text message and phone calls, and then he disappeared.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing I have to say is I realized how far I've come, because I realized for the first time in my life that disappearing had nothing to do with me, and that was a wonderful experience, and I'm open to what's next.
Right, and what I like about that is women tend to do this a lot. We'll think, okay, that Prince Charming's coming, and then we're already ahead, getting married and maybe having kids or doing this with that person or that, instead of being in the now, which is a spiritual
Right.
teaching. And you were just in the now of that weekend. You loved what that brought you, and then when he left, you're able to release it instead of, often I used to do the same thing as hang on, why didn't he call back? Why did he leave? And I'm already thinking of down the line with this person. And we just met. So, yeah, staying in the moment and just enjoying each moment, right? Not putting on, like, what's going to happen later.
Well, and finally going, I just would love to meet someone that is great for a week. And if we love a week together, then let's sign up for another week.
Yes.
And if we love that week, wouldn't that be a wonderful way to approach it?
That is great.
Because through everything I've gone through, I realize nothing's permanent. And you never know how long something's going to be in your life. And even if you do find your soulmate, unless you both live till you're 100 and die together in a car crash, somebody's leaving first.
Yes. And
so I just would love to believe that I'm in a place where I just want to take what comes and enjoy it while it's in front of me. Some days I can be that way, and other days I'm attached, and.
And do you do any surfing anymore? Any Argentine Tango? Because you were a tango.
Oh.
Tell us a little bit about the tango. You were going to Argentina and studying. You were at like professional level.
Yeah, I lived in Argentina. In fact, I was there when the economy crashed, and I bought a condo when the peso got devalued. I did dance professionally. I did get to dance with some of the best dancers in the world and learn from the masters that many of them are no longer living. And the group had told me not to go back down to Argentina and not to go back to Hawaii because both places would drag me backwards. But really, both places empowered me and would have helped me see clearly.
Right.
So I hadn't been back for 11 years to Hawaii or Argentina, and I just went back to both places.
Oh, beautiful.
And I surfed with all my old surf friends, and I danced with all my tango friends that were still alive. And in fact, I'm in Southern California now, and the surf looks good outside my window. I'll be going surfing right after this.
You have your surfboard. So do you know if, now the burn zone, tell us why you called it the burn zone?
Well, I actually named it, I drank the Kool-Aid, The Long Journey Back to Myself. And I didn't love the title, but nothing else came to me. And so the publisher picked the burn zone. And I do think it's clear once you read the book.
Because she says that there's the burn zone. She calls Lakshmi calls it the burn zone when you're.
Right away, she said I was sitting in the burn zone. But then also I realized the burn zone for me was being in this crucible of living a life that wasn't mine, a life I chose to please everybody else, trying to be who I thought I was supposed to be, which so many of us do, and going through the fire that life throws at you when you're not living authentically, coming out the other side.
And now, did you hear of, because I know that some of the people kind of shunned you in the group after you'd been kind of kicked out and went to New York and were getting your MBA, and you had come back, but you had to sit like in the back, or they didn't really embrace you anymore, but you had kind of come back into the group.
Well, she told everyone that I was a powerful sorceress and that I was a witch and I was the devil, and that anything that was going wrong in anybody's lives, especially the women, I was doing it. That I was manipulating all these people energetically, and that I used my power to pull her man away from her. And the really sad, unfortunate thing is that I believed it because I trusted her, and I thought maybe I am somehow misusing my power, but I don't know when I would do it. And if I'm manipulating people, I'm so busy during the day, the only time I could possibly be doing this is at night when I'm sleeping.
Right.
And still I didn't want to sleep, which made me more emotionally unstable. And
I'm surprised you didn't get very, very ill during this
I know. And you know what? I recently reread the Four Agreements.
Love that.
And I really got that he said we're all very powerful and we all use magic. And when we use the power of our mind and our words for good, it's white magic. And when we use the power of our mind and words for bad, it's black magic. And I realized that, yes, maybe I will take that label as sorceress because I'm very clear on what I want. I focus my mind, I set my intention, and it manifests.
Right. And did anyone else, have you heard of anyone else that went through like similar what you went through with them and left, or is this still going on? Do you have any idea?
I heard, you know what, I'm hearing all kinds of rumors. Mm-hmm. I did run into one of my closest friends that joined because of me, who I had known for 20 years. I ran into her recently, and she pretended she didn't know me. Oh, and goodness. She looked at me like I was going to pull out a wand and turn her into a frog.
Wow.
And that was devastating. I cried. And then I just realized she has to believe what she wants to believe. And if anyone understands the power of these teachers, it's me. So I should understand how they can convince her that someone she's known for 25 years is the devil.
Right. Wow. Well, Renee, thank you so much for sharing this. This is amazing, you guys. Her book, you can pre-order it on Amazon now, and the links are below. The links are below to her website. And let me know, you guys, have you ever known anyone in a religious cult? Did you get wrapped up in something? Are you giving your power away? Let us know in the comments. And good luck with everything, Renee. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marla. It's so nice to meet you.
You too. Bye, everybody. Much love.